careful of those island boys. Little girl, use your head. They will tear you up like a paper toy. Oh, no, no, no. Yeah, 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 yeah. Oh, no, no, no.
Hi, I'm Amanda.
And I'm Rumbi.
Welcome to It's Layered.
We're in a long-distance friendship that started over 20 years ago when we were in high school.
We'll be talking about all things life, love, family, anything and everything else under the sun.
Delve deeper with us because in life, you know, Gine, my layers.
Oh, no, no, no. Yeah, 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 yeah. Oh, no, no, no.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to a brand new episode of our podcast. It's Layered Podcast. How are you doing, Amanda?
Hi, Rumbi. I'm good. How are you? I'm so hype. I don't even know. I'm just really hype.
We hype in this building. We hype. It's quite interesting that you're hype because we're actually leading towards Christmas, and I've actually been finding it highly stressful trying to think of everything that needs to be done. Typically, if anyone knows me, I'm actually a huge Christmas girly. I love Christmas. I typically go into decorating as early as possible and all sorts. But this year I feel like I am lagging behind, and I kind of feel like I'm failing at my essence, the essence of who Rumbi is, you know? So yeah, it's been quite interesting for me. But other than that, I'm doing all right. I'm doing all right. And for you, you're hype? Life's good?
Yeah, I'm just hype, not tied to Christmas or anything. I mean, by the time this episode airs, Christmas will be a distant memory. I'm joking. But
sorry.
People get so I love Christmas, but I don't know. I'm not.
You're not a Christmas girly. Yeah.
And I think that's just like being a diaspora, a victim of Christmas also comes with, okay, that's the time I work hard, everyone's gone. The time I get my paper. You know what I mean? It's just, so I find it hard because it's and I think we talked about this on Surviving Diaspora episode, where it's Christmas for me is a time when all my family is gathered. And that doesn't necessarily always tie in with actual Christmas.
Yeah.
And I think also being here where it's so multicultural, I'm close to people who don't celebrate Christmas. Chinese New Year, Lunar New Year is huge here. So it's then what is Christmas? You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, I get you.
It's when you surround yourself with people who have a different version of Christmas, then you start to think, okay,
there are other things.
Yeah, there are other things. Yeah.
In the Western world, we really emphasize it. But yeah, I think for me, it's because since I was a kid, it was always a big deal.
I remember you said,
it was a big deal. So it's
and it is in Zim. Trust me, it's such a huge deal.
Christmas box.
Box. Even last year when we were in Hamburg together. Yeah. I mean, can I let the people know that this Christmas we'll be in Australia together? So maybe that's why I'm hyped, because I'm hosting this year.
Well,
so I do plan to be. Maybe I'm the Christmas girly for you, Rumbi.
Okay, that's what's up. That makes sense. Thank you very much. But yeah, this is our season finale, Amanda. We've actually come to the end of season 5. I feel like 2 seconds ago we're saying welcome to season 5. We can't believe it's season 5, and now we've hit the finale of season 5.
And so much happened this season. Our 50th milestone happened.
Absolutely.
I mean, this season had the most guests we've always have done in the last seasons. So it's just been giving. This season has just been giving. I really have been feeling our Barbie era. Why do you reckon we even talked about Barbie era or went down the Barbie era track?
Yeah, it's a great question because I never thought I was a Barbie girl. I've never really been a Barbie girl. Actually, Amanda, fun fact, got me my first ever Barbie. Did I say this already on the podcast? I never had a Barbie growing up, and I was like, oh, I never even got a Barbie. And then Amanda was like, all right, here you go. Here's your Barbie girlfriend. We really, I guess, both of us watched the Barbie movie, as we've said in previous episodes, and watching that film, it was so different to the Barbie we grew up knowing. You know, the Barbie of perfection, white, skinny, long hair that looks nothing like my hair. Things like that. We grew up in that era. But there's a very crucial moment in the movie. Spoiler alert if you've not already watched it. Sorry. where Gloria, played by America Ferrera, has this monologue, and she's talking about how exhausting it is to be a woman. And I'll just quote like one or two lines from her speech, which really resonated with me. She says, like, we have to always be extraordinary, but somehow we're always doing it wrong.
Yeah.
Imagine. And she goes on this whole spiel. You have to
we'll definitely share the monologue on our socials when the episode drops, for those of you who haven't seen it.
Yeah. But just one of the lines, you have to be thin, but not too thin. And you can never say you want to be thin. So this, you're left in this sort of, I don't know, what do you call it? Like,
you have to say you want to be healthy. And what is healthy?
Yes. It's so confusing. So I think that really spoke to us, because it really ties in with perfectionism, which is something that, you know, we'll go more into depth with this episode, but it's really just like, man, there's no winning. It's a conundrum. Actually, that's what I was looking for. It's a conundrum, because you have to be thin, but not too thin. You can't say you want to be thin, because you have to say you want to be healthy. But what is healthy? And what does being healthy look like? And how do you...
yeah. And then you always have to be part of the sisterhood, she said. Like, you always have to root for other women, you know. And it's like, yeah, it's true. And it's a dichotomy, right? Like, you want to be perfect, but there's all these things fighting against that. And then even wanting to be perfect, is that right? Like, and it just makes me think, what is perfectionism to you, Rumbi?
Now, through a lot of work, I've come to learn that perfectionism is a lie. It's a facade. I'm not actually defining it. I think Amanda's asking for the definition, but I really come to learn that it's a facade. And the definition of perfectionism would be to be perfect. But what does it mean to be perfect, or to do things exactly or beyond the ideal level, you know? And I think there's a difference between excelling and perfectionism. I think there's a marked difference between the two. How would you define it? Because I failed. All I've said is it's a facade.
No, well, it's the word describes itself, being perfect. So ticking all them boxes.
Yeah.
At high level, not
average.
Do. So I think, that is perfectionism, right? Getting everything right. You know, the man is fed. First of all, you got a man or a woman, if whatever your sexual orientation is. The kids are fed if you've got kids. You know, they look absolutely amazing. Nothing's wrong with them. The family is all set. Nothing's wrong. Like, there is nothing wrong. No flaws, right?
Yeah.
And we are imperfectly perfect human beings with lots of flaws. So it's such a dichotomy between that. Like, it's like, okay, how are we as flawed human beings going to be perfect to begin with? We're already set up for failure in this perfect scenario. And I think for me, it's almost the beast that's constantly on our shoulders.
Yes.
Throughout life, you know.
Yeah.
Doing everything right, doing everything as expected, all the things we've talked about, you know, now that I think about it, from our very first episode, very first season, all the way, are rooted in perfectionism. Because it's like, you're not meeting the mark, you're not the perfect class.
You're problematic.
You're not the... you're problematic. You know, your parenting wasn't right. What kind of finances, like everything we've talked about has a seed from perfectionism. Because that's just like, you have had to have had it right to begin with. And then now when you don't, it's a problem.
It's a problem. That's so deep. Which brings to question, how do you think it all came about? This idea of perfectionism, where does it stem from? How did it come about? And maybe in relation to who we are, our culture, our cultural background, and where we come from, what is the root cause of perfectionism?
I guess comparison, and we spoke about this comparison culture, but I think you think you're perfect until you look in the other lane, right?
Yes.
You think you're fine, you think you're good, until someone says you're not.
Yeah.
You know, and I see it now. This is going to be so, like, we're going to be delving today. And I see it now when I look at Jerome. He does not think he's not perfect. Like, homeboy thinks everything he does is, like, Look
he
at
really
me, clap
does.
for me.
He's so
clap
cute.
for me, y'all. Clap for me. I just did that. I just climbed the stair. Clap for me. You know, so it's like, how do we lose that? Someone along the way is gonna go, that's not that great.
Yeah. Yeah, that's average. That's basic.
You're not that cute.
You're basic.
You're not that cute. You're too big, you're too thin, you're too that. Someone's gonna come and shatter at some point that image you have of yourself. You know, even if you want to take it to religion, I mean, a lot of us, we know God made us perfectly is the whole notion, right? When you read the Bible, that everything is great about us, that he, you know, and then it's like, okay, so at what point did we then allow shame and allow distrust of that notion to come in?
Yeah.
You know, there's a time when we were just like,
I think in the biblically, it would be when Eve ate the fruit.
Exactly. So,
and,
it's back to our beginning story.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
right.
Deep. It's scary. And I think also it stems from, we spoke about an episode of Allyship about the ego and where it's like, you feel threatened, and it comes, as Amanda says, from comparison. You feel threatened, so you're like, you're supposed to be like this. So hence things like classism, you're not like me. I'm threatened, you know, you're not this. Racism, you're not that. You know, there's so many elements. It's like the ego of like, ooh, I have to be better than someone else.
Yeah.
Can't we just be?
Exactly. And who said? How do you think it presents in our day-to-day life, though? Because obviously we've taken it far and talked about religion and whatever. But just as you, as a Black woman, in modern society, how do you think it presents in your day-to-day life?
Well, let's just take it like today's a Sunday when we're recording. And typically on a Sunday, it's like getting ready for the week. So as a woman, it's like, okay, have we eaten breakfast? Have I changed the bedding? Have I done laundry? Have I cleaned the house? Have I watered the plants? Have I cooked or meal prepped? Have I prepared for work? Have I
done some self-care?
Have I
met up with the girlies for brunch?
Have I spoken to my family and friends? Have I been there for my partner? Have I? It's like this over, and it used to sit on me heavy that like, have I ticked? You know, you will do the most and still be like, oh, but I forgot to take out the trash. Something, I'm giving an example.
Yeah.
So just from like a household thing, it's insane. And then of course it happens in the workplace. You know, have I performed enough? Am I showing my worth? Do they value me? And so you keep pushing to try and be the perfect whatever employee or whatever it is, and it's just like, bruh, you'll never meet the mark ever. I don't know for you, how do you think it plays out?
No, for sure. And it plays out in so many ways, because some stuff we can be ridiculously like esteemed in this whole idea of being perfect, and some stuff we're like willing to let go. So even it depends on each person, is different, right? Some people will be like, oh my God, I have to eat clean, go to the gym, I look like this, my body's like this, and my man never sees me without makeup, I have my hair done, I have my nails done. Like it can be like that, or it can also just be like the way you think, like what you said, ticking off your list of it can be like with your family. Okay, have I done people pleasing? Have I done everything for everyone else and left myself nothing? So it's like, it just literally, some people might have the whole gamut, but some people could just have this one thing
in one specific area.
I'm like, I have to be, you know. And then I find like for women generally, and maybe men's different. I mean, I would love for our listeners to let us know, our male listeners to let us know. But for women, it feels like we have to be across the board.
Yes.
Whereas with men, usually they'll be like, I excel at work, I'm a CEO, I'm doing the things. But when I get home, it's feed up video game. You know, like I don't have to do the bedding. I don't have to do but it's like for us as women, it's like everywhere we go. Everywhere we go. Like everything we do, everything we touch. Even if you do go to the gym, it's like, okay, I have to be the best. I have to look the best. I have to have the best outfits. I have to have like, it's like, it's like,
Never
Because
ending.
it's
Never ending.
Never ending.
And another example would be if you've ever seen or heard of people who have like real OCD, like people joke, I have OCD, but have real OCD, how things have to line up and be perfect. And it can manifest in those really visible ways, but it's also within us in different ways. You know, for example, I'll give a personal example. We're on holiday with friends and I made a potato salad. I marinated meat for the barbecue. I'd made like other food, salad, gravy, everything, set things out nicely, ready to eat or whatever. And then we're eating the potato salad and the potatoes were a little bit too not soft enough. And I remember everyone ate. They were like happy, like, oh, this is great, loved it, whatever. But the potato salad thing was stuck in my brain. Like, I was like, it was horrible because the potato salad was not perfect. Do you understand? Like,
yeah.
And it can happen. And you know, someone else will be like, oh, Rumbi, it was not an issue. But for you in that lane, it's like, potato salad was not perfect.
And then it supersedes.
Yes.
Everything else you've done, girl. Like you've done 10 other dishes.
Yes.
Which already is a feat in itself.
Yes.
But now you're going to obsess
about the potato
and
salad.
marinate about that one thing.
Yep. Exactly.
It's not perfect because in your lunch or your dinner wasn't perfect, right?
Yes.
Potato salad.
And it's in your head and you stuck with it until my therapist was like, girl, I think it's fine. Like literally when she said it to me, she's like, what? Like, you know, until someone, so that's, you know, another example. But do you think perfectionism is damaging, and how so?
I do think it's damaging because none of us are perfect.
Yeah.
And yet we're all in this rat race of trying to be. You know, whether the rat race is yours personally or on a grander scale. People compare between siblings, people compare between like workmates.
Yeah.
You know, lovers, people leave boyfriends and girlfriends there because they're not that perfect person. Like it can be damaging because it's so isolating. Like as you just said, everyone was like, my God, the lunch was yummy, the dinner was yummy, but you are now in your own little world about potato salad and nobody else is in there with you.
Yeah.
And like now maybe you didn't enjoy the rest of the day. Like even if you reflect on it, you know, and there were memories to be made, moments to be had, but because potato salad wasn't perfect, you know what I mean? Like it's so. And when someone else explains it to you, as you said, your therapist did, it sounds so like, duh, of course. But when you're in it,
you're in it
isolating.
You're
how
in it
isolating
alone.
Is that feeling?
Absolutely. And I think too, as humans, as Amanda said earlier, we are imperfect. And with perfectionism, you are holding yourself up to a standard that's unrealistic, but also saying the ugly parts of yourself are not okay. So you live a life of self-hate and self-judgment where you cannot embrace yourself fully. So in our life, we have our dark sides. We all have dark sides. Like nobody is like angelic. It's impossible. And so you're hating on the dark side, your flaws, and you imagine you live your whole life without fully accepting self with that level. And it can come through not necessarily physically. Like, yes, of course, we're quick to say, oh, I wish I had, you know, stronger calves or whatever, but it can manifest in, I wish I was smarter in this way. I wish I was more able to be oriented with directions, or I could keep time more perfectly. Do you understand what I'm saying? And then you live this life with a constant state of you are not good enough constantly. And so hence why if you're in a relationship with someone who is abusive, we also spoke about abuse on this podcast, and they're saying you're not good enough, you can understand why people
stay feeding that beast.
It's feeding the beast, and why they stay in the relationship to try and prove that no, I can be perfect. Just see. Let me try. Let me show you.
Yeah. Despite this being a damaging relationship.
Exactly. So it then manifests in other areas, and it's just like the snowball
Yeah. And we've talked about mental health before with Two Broke Twimbos, because that just sounds like anxiety driven to me.
Yes.
Like, you know, you're now in your mind all the time, and instead of being in the now, instead of enjoying the now, you're just like forever living. Because a lot of times it's retrospect, right?
Yes.
So now you're forever living in the past. Oh, I could have done that. Oh, why didn't I do this? And it's just like, it's draining.
Yeah.
And the mental load it takes could be used for other things.
More productive things, bro. And also it can be future driven, right? Because you're like, I have to have the perfect Christmas. There's this movie on Netflix, a Christmas movie with Brandy, and her friend goes to visit her or something. I only watched like a few minutes because I couldn't do it.
Okay.
But the friend was like, she's so perfect. No one can be perfect. Her life is so perfect. And like that, you know, it's like that thing of like, I have to have the perfect Christmas, the perfect house, the perfect husband, perfect kids, perfect this, perfect that. Perfectly imperfect, like it cannot exist. It doesn't. So it also can in the past, so anxiety inducing in the past, anxiety inducing thinking about the future of if I don't do this
and then you're not living. Yeah. Do you think can ever be helpful though?
I think as humanity, as humans, why we've survived so long in this world is our constant growth and pushing ourselves to the next level to do better and be better. I do think sometimes we confuse that with perfectionism, but it's actually just excellence and growth. And oftentimes the things that propel humanity forward are birthed or out of necessity or struggle. So if you think about struggle and necessity, it doesn't happen in perfect conditions, because if things are perfect, you wouldn't have a need to figure out, okay, instead of me having to get on a boat for weeks on end to go from Africa to America or from Africa to Asia, what if I could fly there? Now, the conditions are not ideal, right? Because, you know, you get sickness, seasickness, people die, there's all sorts of issues. And so the conditions are not, so if there were perfect conditions, if it was just like a seamless, I'm there and it takes 1 second, you wouldn't need to create the Wright brothers wouldn't have had to invent a plane.
Airplanes,
do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I think there's a false narrative we tell ourselves that things have to be perfect in order to be good, but actually it's the imperfections that help us to move forward as humanity and society. I think we confuse perfectionism with excellence a lot of the time. And it's difficult sometimes to separate the two. So
it's a thin line.
It's a thin line.
You know.
And I think I've come to know that I don't think perfectionism is rooted in good things at the heart of it. It seems like it is, but it's like not really. I don't know what you think. I don't know if I've answered the question.
Yeah. I don't know. I think like I look at it so black and white. Like obviously it's helpful in some careers. Like I don't want a pilot to not be perfect now, child, if I'm flying. Just because you made me think about flying, Rumbi. Or like a surgeon, or like, so there's some times when we are called to a higher power, are called to a higher esteem, and we have to be on our A game. That's what they say, on your A game, right?
Yes.
And I know people can think, oh yeah, that's overachieving, but even in that overachieving, or even in that seeking excellence, for those 10 minutes or 15 minutes or whatever long it takes you, you have to do something in a perfect way. But to live like that all the time is unsustainable.
Yes.
So even the surgeon is going to do your surgery, right? You know, your pilot's going to land the plane, but it doesn't necessarily mean when he steps out that plane, he has to continue being in that state of perfection. Do you know what I mean? So I think it's like a time and a place thing
for it.
But what I think happens is that we get addicted to that feeling of, oh, I can do that. Oh, I'm because there's also ego, what you said before, Rumi. So some of it is very introspective, and some of it is very like people praising you, right? Pilot lands the plane, the whole plane claps. You know, obviously the pilot's gonna come out like don't touch, So it's like, then to go home and just be a regular might not be, like surgeons are known typically, their attitudes, their personas are like Mr. Confident, Mr. Arrogant, they're known to have that pompous, this is a generalization, because it's probably fed by that achieving, and like mentality. I feel like that's the part where we can't switch it. Our brains love dopamine.
Yes.
And we can't switch it on and off.
Yes.
And that's why we then keep seeking it
those things
in all areas of life. Meanwhile, it's like, okay, you were only meant to do that perfectly for like 10, 15 and then let it go. But you're now like trying to have that feeling everywhere. And I think it is like a drug where you kind of like get addicted to but there's something we're getting out of it. Because even when you are perfect, if you had done your dinner Rumbi perfectly, you probably would have found something else.
Exactly.
To nitpick, you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
So like you're in this constant state of, how can I refine this? How can I? And when you're making a design or crafting something or working on someone, or it's needed to have that.
Yes.
And it's helpful to have that nitpick. Like, how can I do that better? How can I, not land
But isn't that then excellence? That's what I'm saying. It's like, I think we really are.
No, but I think excellence still gives room for flaws, whereas perfectionism doesn't. You have to do it from start to finish with that same energy. You can't be like, but on that, it's okay, I'm going to handball that. Like, it's like you have to be on that higher level of, for me anyway, I think like, because I feel like excellence and overachievement or being above are like on the same, but there's still room for like tweaking. Yeah. Whereas with perfectionism, there's no tweaks. It's like start to finish is like ding. That's how I feel.
I think we're saying the same thing, but using different language. I think maybe for me, the language now of perfectionism, I approach with caution because, as you say, I think a surgeon should do it extremely well. Like he should be able to stitch you up and do the things that need to be done exceptionally well. Maybe exceptional is what I would use. So to be able to do something exceptionally. But you're so right about that dopamine. I think we are supposed to tap into that level of exceptional perfectionism, in your words, at a certain point, and then retreat from that. I think at a level of exceptional and that perfection as the pilot lands a plane, you have to be tapped in. And it's not just you. I think you almost tap into a higher version of yourself. It's almost like, I don't know how to explain this.
I mean, all our deities are perfect, right?
Exactly.
No one has a god. In every religion, the god is perfect.
Yes. So then you tie in,
for a reason.
You tap into that level. It's like we chase that. And I think it's very true. Also, we see with celebrities. I was watching the Robbie Williams documentary, and you really realize that chasing that people love me, people accept me, people like me as I am, and they think I'm fantastic. And as soon as there's an element of doubt or someone saying, "Ooh, maybe I don't like you so much," it's the crumble. Do you understand what I'm saying? So it's like it really is a drug. And then you're like, why aren't I accepted? I'm perfect. Can't I be?
And that's why it's not sustainable. You need to realize that it can be sought and retreated. Yes. And I don't think it's meant to be sought often. And I do think it's meant to be sought as needed.
Yes.
But it's that we love that feeling. So then we end up staying in that
place,
in that state.
And it's unsustainable. But are there different types of perfectionism?
I think so. Like, I think there's societal where people are like, you're a mother. You should do this. You should do that. It's like, I don't have myself to those high standards. Like, why do you? Your wife, how can you dare let your husband not have sex? How can you dare let your, students, I expect better from you, Rumbi. You're usually my A-star student. Like, you can't have a bad day. You can't have stresses. So I think there's like there's different types where people ask us to tap into perfectionism or ask us to tap into excellence or overachieving or, just doing things well. And then that's why even our bodies, right? Like, oh my God, you have a great body when you're 25. When you're 45, really, most times it's not going to look exactly the same as it looked when you're 25 naturally. And then we want to tap into it, like, because we're like, oh no, I used to look good. But it's like, but you've changed, you've grown, your body, your face shows your life, but yet we're trying to be like, no, Botox, I can't be having wrinkles, I can't. So I feel like it's all, some stuff is visual, so your body image and all that stuff. Then some stuff is like internal, some stuff is within families. You're the firstborn son, you're the first daughter, you're the other siblings after you can fail and flounder, but you have to
be perfect.
It's like, I really feel like there's different types from different people.
Yeah. Yo, there's no winning in this life, bro.
Yeah. What?
It's a wrap. Let's wrap it up. Yeah. You're right. I have nothing more to add. It's just it's complex.
Yeah. It's actually my layers, that's the truth. Do you think society, having said that, encourages or discourages the notion of perfectionism?
Yes. 1000%.
They
encourage it. And when, I'm thinking of myself as a young Zimbabwean girl growing up, and like, like, know everyone, morosa munu, in order, wash hands in the correct order. In the correct order, who's who, give food out in the correct order, don't complain if they're telling you to run up and down, and then never mind when you eat, never mind, your sadza needs to be perfect, so you need to be able to do it like that, like this, yo, and I think, and it's praised, right? And they are not gonna, it's so smart, got straight A's, did this, did that, we praise a lot. We rarely praise people who fall and are able to still keep going. For example, like I've made a mistake, but I'm choosing to still get up. We don't praise that really. It's just like, oh, you have to be perfect for you.
It's so sad, right? And I think you're right. Like, I mean, Zimbabwean society definitely encourages perfectionism. Like, don't talk to no boys when you're in high school. Then get yourself the right man. It's like, okay, how do I jump from no boys
to a man?
To a man. And then after that, have the kids. Make sure you have a boy because you have to carry the name. Then have a girl maybe after, so that, they have siblings and they can play together. Like everything is just like, and in the midst of this, did you make sure you bought your house?
Yeah.
Make sure you drive a nice car. Like, make sure you're not just driving skoro, like you're actually driving a proper car. Like, it's like, okay, how do make sure you go to church.
Yes. Make sure you support your family. Yes.
It's like, okay, how do I remain skinny? Like, it's just like everything is, don't be too skinny because then you look like you don't also got money.
Yeah.
Like, it's just like, how do you keep up with everything?
Keeping up appearances.
I mean, our podcast, I feel, is why we probably tied this whole season so perfectly in the beginning. But like, it's because our whole podcast is based on this dichotomy of how do we achieve all these things that are expected of us.
Yes.
When and sometimes you don't even expect it of yourself. You're like, I wasn't even thinking of this, but now you put this idea in my head that I need to be this person.
Exactly.
And I need to do these things. And this is not the right order it should have been in.
Yes. You start beating yourself and berating yourself for not doing that. If anyone has a great example, actually, is if you watched when we were younger, there was Keeping Up Appearances, a show about the Bouquet residents. Is actually their name was Bucket, but she used to call herself the Bouquet, and how she used to flaunt and like struggle to try and maintain this perfection, but half the time she was failing.
Yeah, and the neighbors, she didn't want the neighbors to see.
Yes.
And everyone knew already. And the husband was so over it.
Yes, exactly.
But now you had to just be along for the ride.
And it was such a great example of how perfectionism is so ridiculous, because so what doesn't even exist. You're even denying your name because you're trying to be this perfect, whatever,
from the certain class or certain background.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's a good and then there's keeping up with the Joneses and all that, those kind of
and I think for me what also hurts about is that it can be personal, right? So it's okay if society at large, but even sometimes people have husbands. There's this whole notion on TikTok at the moment. Obviously I'm on Mother Talk. There's like this whole notion of they are single moms in marriages. And the whole thing is because men think, oh, you can go to work, you can feed the kids, the kids need to look like hair is kept, everything's perfect. And you are too at the same time. And it's like, okay, how do I do this with no help, with nothing from you? It's all me. It's all everything that you're doing. And I've been making sure everything stays done, but I don't get any input. So I think we also have these notions about our gender roles, right? Which is something we spoke about, because it's like, is that actually right that women need to do everything? And for the kids, like, you know, even with dinner, people are like, oh, so what's for dinner tonight? And look at the mom. It's like, well, why don't you look at dad and also ask what's for dinner? Like, that should just be completely normal. But then it's like that pressure society has put from the 1950s that's still there till now, that women are the housewife and they also go to work, you know? It's just like, you can't do it all. I think perfectionism always fights that. And that's why Rimbi and I are saying you tap into it, if at all, and then you retreat. Because you cannot operate on that level for every single thing and not have burnout. And not have mental fatigue, not have mental loading, not have something fall on the wayside. Like, you're juggling so many things in the same 24 hours. What's that thing? We all have 24 hours in a day. And it's like, but you have to also take care of yourself. Exactly. And I think society doesn't give that space. They just keep encouraging that everything's done and done right.
People say, for example, we all have the same 24 hours as Beyonce. But Beyonce has told us she don't cook. That's also something else. Don't cook. So I'm just saying, it just shows you like something has got.
And she has a team of people.
Exactly.
Like, it's not
exactly. And also,
she ain't changing them nappies, I'm sure.
Exactly. And I think for me, my sister actually said this to me. She was like, people judge, for example, stay-at-home moms and say, oh, you're not doing anything. She was like, do you understand the mental fatigue it takes as a woman in a household? Because yes, the kids go off to school and you're at home, but now you're thinking, okay, so-and-so's birthday is coming up. What are we going to do for that? We need to buy this. We need to do this. And just and I find that happens with me. Even if I'm just quote unquote chilling on the couch, I'll be busy like thinking of, okay, this is coming up. We need to make sure we have this. This is this. We need to do that. Have we done this? You're constantly, it's like the brain is constantly feeling like you need to do this, because guess what? If you don't have that gift for Jerome's homie's birthday, they'll look and be like, will they look at your husband?
Everybody, they won't look at the husband and they won't look at Jerome.
Exactly. But it's that thing. So.
Yeah. Which is funny because there's a clip also, you talked about Barbie movie, but also just like that, they share about I think she lets her husband do a lot of the chores for once, and obviously things are falling apart because
this is for if anyone wants to know, it's for the
series
Sex and the City
like series like they did a sequel and just like that,
and just
Kristen
like that.
Davis.
Yes
And she's talking to her husband and like it's like one of those things, like, and he's complaining that everything's falling apart, and she's like, no, it's because now I'm asking you guys to also do it. And I've been doing it. I've been checking these things. So yes, just because you've done a couple of dinners and a couple of birthday presents and a couple of whatever else, doesn't mean that now I owe you all of this. It also shows the pressure that partners put on each other.
Yes.
That he expects that it's done. Yes. And she's like, well, I'm also human too, the way you are. I also have fatigue.
Yes.
And I shouldn't have to be performing perfectly at all times. So it's
or
interesting.
Like how
we'll share that one as well on our socials.
We'll share it with you. And also how a dad will, be carrying their child and they were like, oh, such a great dad. It's like, that's your job.
You're just being a dad.
That's your child.
This child was, you best be cuddling your child.
Yeah. Or like pushing the pram, or like things like that. It's like, it's also your child, hey? It's also. But would you say, okay, let's get to, we've talked high level. Let's get into it. Would you say you are a perfectionist? And how has your journey with it been?
I would say I've always been a high achiever at school. So I guess that's where I practiced trying to be perfect. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the same as you saying when you cooked, you had this one dish. For me, it was the opposite. Like I could have straight A's and then one B somewhere. And then my parents would like hone in on that. Like, why are you doing this? You know, why is this not perfect? So like, I think I learned to deal with the disappointment that perfectionism, when you're not perfect, comes with very early on, to be like, okay, no, but it's okay. I still got to be, I'm fine. To learn to like pump myself up despite people's thoughts about me, you know? I remember when even like our O-level results came out and people were like, oh, you would have all A's. And it's like, no. And it's fine. Like I got what I needed in the subjects I needed, and I'm gonna be fine. And I don't even think about it now. So I think it was one of those things where, because of the high achieving and Zim the way it is, I managed to create my own voice within that, where it's like I don't have to achieve all of those things. I do what I want when I want to do it. You know, I pick and choose what I want to do. But I also think another challenging time has obviously been motherhood, because that's a whole ball game. Like if Jerome has a runny nose, everybody will be looking at you. If he does this, everybody be judging you. So it's like, because the comments come in thick and fast, I find myself drawing back to that childhood where I had to be like self-talk and be like, no, it's actually fine. He's fine. And like now what's now changed with motherhood is I've had to now be vocal about it. Because I think when I was a child, I would just say in my brain, like, my parents be crazy. Like, it's fine, I gotta be, you know. But like, I would never say that because I'm about to get the Shamu child. But like, now that I'm older, I can actually, when someone actually says something about Jerome or about motherhood, or I can challenge it and be like, no, but dude, I'm tired. Even if it's my husband, even if it's, you know, a fellow coworker or whatever, I can actually challenge the notion that I need to be perfect. You know? And I think when people are confronted with it, like, oh, they're like, oh, then they also go self-introspect, go, oh, why was I expecting that of her? She's right. Like, it's okay. Let me just, you know. And sometimes I've had to say to people, instead of telling me what to do, why don't you do it? Jerome has boogers on his nose. There's tissue there. Why don't you wipe his nose? Why are you telling me, coming to Rand to tell me, and you just don't do it yourself? So I think it's like, I've had to like, I had the muscle. And now I've had to like
vocalize it, use it in a different way.
I've had to use it. Yeah.
But you've always been good, and something that I've admired about you, you know, you have a very strong sense of self and ability to say, I don't care what you're gonna say. Do you understand? Like you've always had a very good sense of self since we were young, which is very admirable. And I really like that about you. It challenges me as well. For me, the answer to the question is I'm 100% a perfectionist. And I would like to say I'm a recovering perfectionist. Still have, you know, sometimes
hi, my name is Rumbi.
Yes, I'm a recovery, and I still have like a like, you know, you still have that moments where the short fuse didn't. And I think for me, in a way where you were like, oh, my parents tripping, I internalized it so much so that my parents need not say anything anymore. It was already within myself. Like,
let's go there.
I'm the one who, you know, I would have homework. I'd be the one who's doing homework. Before they even say anything, they may say to my siblings, have you done your homework, or go do your homework? I was there already. They would go to bed sometimes. I remember I was in primary school. They would go to bed sometimes, and I was there working on my project, making sure it's like perfect, whatever. And they're like, oh, okay, Rumbi's doing good night. Like, see, like I was that. And I think it had a lot to do with upbringing, for sure. I think it's also inherited in a way, because I've seen it in my mom in some ways, and, you know, and yeah. I'm definitely a recovering perfectionist.
How do you think
heavy on the recovering?
Hey, we praise.
Heavy on the recovering.
How do you think you've sought help though? Like, just how does one seek help when they're a perfectionist?
Therapy.
Mm-hmm.
And something that's really, my sister says this, she'll say something to me over and over, like, oh, it's fine, it's not an issue. And you still are like, no, you just say that because you love me. So when you hear it sometimes from your loved ones, like Amanda or whatever, we've spoken about body image, which has always been a big thing for me. And they're like, oh, you're fine. Or my husband is like, girl, I love you as you are, whatever. It's sometimes when you hear an expert outsider who you feel has no insight into who you are tell you those things, then it like triggers this thing like, oh, so when all these people were saying these things, they must be right. So I do recommend therapy is very helpful. It's very uncomfortable because when all you know is to be perfect, it's hard to let go, and it's a muscle that I'm still learning to practice. I think it's also helped being away from home. I think it's also helped the partner that I have who is able and willing to share the load. For example, he knows I'm not a morning person. I used to beat myself up for not being a 5 a.m. riser, up and, breakfast is
up
done,
and
at it. Like, and I used to beat myself up about it. And he really was just like, it's fine. So in the morning, he'd get up earlier, give me my time to get ready, and he makes breakfast. Like that's the thing. And learning that that's okay. But the Zim girl in me was like, your man's be waking up before you to make breakfast? Oh, hell no. But I've had to accept that that's who I am. And it's only honestly this year that I've really kind of, to some degree, accepted myself
into
that way.
recovery. Yeah.
I
think also the people around you, like I feel like we talked a lot about, like you just said, you obviously had like friends and family who always say these things to you, then therapy just firmed it.
Yes, yeah.
But I think some people have the opposite, right? Where they have the family and the friends, but they're the ones piling on the pressure now.
Exactly.
It's like, okay, I love you, but you're now holding me to this high esteem.
Exactly.
And people also, you have to always realize there's a lot of self-interest in perfectionism.
Yes.
So people will be like, no, do it for me because you always do it right. Yes. So it's also like, okay, no, I need to have boundaries. Like, I'm not doing that no more.
Hence the episode on boundaries. It's
exactly
crucial.
So I think it's very crucial to surround yourself with the right people. And I will credit Australia for that, for me personally, because a lot of Australians have this saying where they go, she'll be all right, which means she'll be okay. Like, it'll be fine, child.
It's not the end of the world.
It's gonna be extra. It's probably not going to be passed for a C, but will it be done? Yes, it will be done. So Monday to Friday, Amanda, when you're tired from work and it's KFC that night, it'd be KFC. You ate, didn't you? You ate.
You ate, for sure.
Like, so I think it's like I've adopted that Aussie culture where it's like, she'll be all right. Like, we'll be fine. Like, today, I'm not going to be guns blazing about everything. And Zim I've had to leave Zim to achieve that, which is really sad. Because whenever I go back to Zim, I always say, I have to put my Zim cap on. And I think my Zim cap is perfectionism. I'm not going to wake up after Tom or myself. I'm going to have to be waking up before them to sweep first, do the dishes, then do, I'm going to have to. That's just the way the world, especially patriarchal worlds, work. So I think it helps knowing your people, knowing what speaks to your soul. Where do you feel at peace? Because in perfectionism, you're not at peace. You're just
at all
going. You're in a hamster wheel. You're just like
always.
At all times. So when you find yourself not in that hamster wheel, not thinking, I think take a second to look around. Who's around you? Which energies are you absorbing and pushing up against? Because you probably find that those are the same people you need to have around you when you are thinking, oh my God, I need to do this, I need to do that. It's so crucial. It's so crucial.
That's actually, I was going to ask you a question about advice for perfectionism. And I think that's such great advice. And surround yourself. Who do you surround yourself with and around? What's your environment like? If you can shift that and change that. And also, I would say, Amanda mentioned in the allyship episode, you should know you only have like 5 fucks to give. So in life, it's like, why is this so important to you? And why do I need to care? Just ask yourself that. And for me, it's even in when I panic about something, asking, but why is it? And you'll find a lot of the times we don't ask ourselves, like, why do I feel this need? And then it makes you pause, take a step back, and you have to be willing to be honest with yourself. Hence the dark side of you that perfectionism doesn't really like typically. It allows you to sit in that a little, and you're going to have to be, here's the thing, it's going to be very uncomfortable because with perfectionism, we want the comfort of like not dealing or not, it's going to be ugly. There may be some tears. It's going to be, you feel a bit out of whack and out of who, what you're used to. But just ask yourself, why is it so important that the potato salad be perfect? What is this saying about me? Guys, and I've used potato salad. It's a very almost like trivial issue, but
but it shows how bad it can be, even the trivial stuff.
Yeah, it goes deep.
Because if you're doing that potato salad, what are you doing for the other things that are actually important?
Exactly.
Yeah, you're not even probably having sleepless nights, eh? Now you're not even sleeping because
exactly. Oh, Amanda, why drag me? Why don't you?
No, I'm not dragging you at all, Rumbi. The love I have for you knows no bounds.
I know you do.
It's just, I think we all suffer from it. We all do it. Like, it's just, I think Zimbabwean women more so. And I think this is a love letter to our Zimbabwean women out there. Our whole season has been, our Barbie era has been, because it's really like, why are we the way we are? Because then that's why patriarchy feeds itself and attaches itself like a leech, because we already have that perfectionism, right? So the man now coming and saying, do everything. It just goes perfectly. Because it's like, I meant to do everything. I'm a strong Black woman. I can do it, everything, So it's like, no, actually, and stay away from social media if you have problems with perfectionism.
Yeah,
because also you need to realize that that's a highlight reel. They got lots of things they're not showing you. A lot of couples you follow on social media, you find out they broke up, there was abuse. I mean, hey, now we're going through our Will and Jada and confessions period where everything. Meanwhile, when we were growing up, Will and Jada were the poster for, Black power love, in Hollywood. So it's like, how do you separate yourself from that? You need to realize what's real, what's fake,
what's not,
see through it. And I have to give kudos to some certain degree to Gen Z, because they're also dispelling
a lot of us, bruh. Y'all are
they're teaching us that millennials too far with social media.
Too far. Yeah,
so like show the real. And like I feel that's why even TikTok probably is possibly gone. I mean, apart from the timing with the pandemic, it's also because it stripped us back.
Yes.
If you look at all the people we follow on TikTok as opposed to their Instagram, that's the perfect. There's that whole line about Instagram versus reality, expectations versus reality. Yes. Because it's like on TikTok, they'll be there with their bonnet on, telling you they're realist, and then you get to know their personality, their flaws, so to speak. But on Insta, it'll be the proper short pic, the everything, glam. So I think you just need to be very conscious of your mind and protect your soul and what you feed your mind and what you feed your soul.
Yes. Another tip I would have about perfectionists is looking in the mirror. And when I did this, and I still struggle with it to some degree, and saying what you like about yourself and just leaving it at that and leaving. Like if it's an imagery thing, if it's about how you look, just saying like, I love you to yourself. You may feel cray for a little bit. It may seem hoo-ha, but honestly, it's just what you feed yourself, or putting sticky notes up around like that, just encourage you, words of encouragement, or taking time to meditate if meditation is your thing. Journaling is my thing. That's my life-saving thing, where you put it out, and honestly, just know it's okay to be weak or to not got it. I don't got it today. Be vulnerable today. Like
And to ask for help.
Yeah. Ask for help.
You know? Yeah. Like
sure.
and remember, I think, and this is not turning maybe into a therapy session when it's not meant to. Talk about therapy so much.
Yeah.
But I think like also another thing that I would like for our listeners to know is that it's okay to do the bare minimum sometimes. Like it's fine to just be like, bruh, it will have to do. And actually sit with that feeling and be happy with that feeling.
Yeah.
And of course, if you're achieving and everything's great, but on that day when you don't, that's also great. Like it's fine. Like, and I think we've been brought up to think the opposite, to be disappointed, to look at the Joneses, to do this and that. But really, at the end of the day, most people don't even notice all these things. We just like, because remember, I think anyone who's to meet any of us will think, these girls are confident, they have a podcast, they have these, and they won't see all the things underneath it all.
Yeah.
To realize, like, we question ourselves, even this podcast. We're like, are we doing the right thing? Are we hitting the mark? Time. Are we doing this? Are we doing that? Is our quality fine? Is our audio, like all these things? Then at the end of the day, it's like, but we have to just keep going. We have to keep moving. And we improve and perfect, so to speak, in time and with time.
Yeah. And, you know, speaking of this season, it's almost been like really telling of my life. I think at the beginning of the season, I talked about how I was evolving as a person. And it's quite interesting, you know, when sharing that, my answers for posting on social media, I was like, my only word is evolving. And for me, I was like, no, I need to have, you know, and it was hard, and it's been a journey. Amanda knows it's been a journey for me. You know, I left my job. I took time out, which was, again, for a perfectionist like me, very hard, very isolating, and being okay with just being. And it took me actually months to actually just be okay with being and letting go of that. And I share all this to say that it's a journey. It's very difficult. It's very confronting. But I think you also realize you cannot live life chasing perfection at your own expense, which I think I have been prone to doing. Sorry. And so, I think this episode is just an episode of encouragement for people who, like me, like us, have struggled with perfectionism. That there's other ways to live, and to live truly and honestly in your truth, as you are. Come as you are. You know, even biblically, we're told, come as you are if you're religious in that way. But we struggle, and we absorb so much of what society has to offer to tell us at our expense. So I don't know if this has been useful for anyone. This has been therapeutic for me. And, you know, so
and we hold space for anyone who feels like it's become too much. I mean, one of the things with perfectionism is that, you know, comparison is a thief of joy. And when you keep comparing yourself, you're never going to be the best in all aspects at all times, you know, and also no need to procrastinate because you want to make everything perfect.
Yes.
You know, like go for your dreams, go for your goals. Whether they're perfect or not, you will figure it out on the way. Rimbi and I always laugh and say, even with this podcast, well, just delete. If it doesn't work out, we'll edit, you know? Like, and that's how you have to approach your life. That you have to give it a go. You have to give it a shot. So, Rimbi, I'm so proud of you. You have no idea how, like, you're so inspiring because you always look out for yourself, and I love that. And not in a like a egotistical way, but in a, what can I be doing better? How can I live my life better? And a lot of people don't even question themselves. They just go mundane, expecting, you know, something's going to change, but you actually seek that change. You seek that involving. And I think you're only going to be the better for it.
Thank you. And I'm thankful for you for giving me the room, the space, and the encouragement, even on days when I couldn't just chill, and you're just like, just chill. That's fine. You'll be fine. It's okay. Switch off. And my sister too, I definitely have to shout her out. And my husband, like, again, community is so important when you are
definitely is
trying to heal from perfectionism. So thank you so much for listening this season. But before we go, before I let you go.
There you go, Rumbi.
What do we gotta do, Amanda, before we let them go?
Speaking about community, we've obviously launched our website. We've obviously come a long way from season 1, now season 5. And to close off our season, instead of doing our regular Zim shout-outs, we're going to shout out our It's Layered Delvers. So those people who've just been showing us love since day dot, been encouraging us, especially through the socials. I know a lot of people like to lurk and not let themselves be known. But we love for you to let us, know you're around, know you're listening, know what you're getting from it, what you're gleaning from our episodes, because it keeps us going. As you can see, this is a vulnerable, safe space, and we all need to uplift each other to keep going. So this is just a shout out to our Islayer Delvers. We know there's plenty of you, y'all, but we had to really make this an exclusive club because we obviously we can't leave anyone out.
We can't list
but we
everybody.
can't also have the whole episode listing everybody. And if you want to shout out, please reach out to us, give us some comments, show us some love on the socials,
send us a review.
Keep you in mind. Send us a review, subscribe, rate, like, all those comment, all those things that the people these days say. But shout out to Kuzi, Tino, Darby, Drew, Hicks, Masal, Sonia, Didi, Larissa, Pumi, and of course, Mama Doobs.
Mama Doobs, the only baby boomer who probably listens to our podcast.
She loves us. We love the energy from Mama Doobs.
And for sure, thank you to some of our delvers and supporters on the social media. On X, we have Chiedza Gombedza, who's always showing us love, at The Manyati, Melody Chingwaru, Tumelo Chi, Nat from the Girls in Skies podcast, as well as on Instagram at Just Samu. These are Delvers supporters who constantly showing us love, constantly engaging with us, constantly hollering at us. Of course, there are many others, but we just wanted to say thank you. And please, as Amanda said, if you wanna shout out, holler back, send us a review, comment. And don't forget to subscribe, not only to the podcast, but on our website, because then you'll be getting the latest details, first look at blog posts, all those fun things. So please go to our website, it's layeredpodcast.com, and show us love there. Amanda, what a season.
What a season. And please know, even though we're going on a hiatus because we need to rest, child, we'll come back. Keep your eyes peeled for something extra special.
Okay.
dot.
Amanda. Amanda's in her element today. I don't know what she drank today.
Too much today.
I don't know what.
Love you so much, Ruby. Loved this season. Loved all our guests. Special shout out to our guests for this season.
Absolutely.
So that would be Saral, that would be Wadzi, that would be Danai, and obviously our bonus who was Hilzy
in the building.
Thank you so much for your love, for coming on our Barbie era season, and we'll keep an eye on all the projects you're up to as well.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. Take care. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
They will tear you up like a paper toy. Oh.